Hi Dirk.
Hi Edgar.
How are you? Are you on fire?
I'm rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
Isn't that good? I mean, sometimes things get you so down and everything else like that, but then you pedal yourself back up again, don't you?
Yeah.
Where are you at now? You pedaled up?
I think fellowship is always good, and we've been meeting pastors today. We had a good time with Nathan Glover, new pastor in town. I think that was very encouraging, and he did 2 talks for us. Huh?
Yeah, so check them out Wednesdays.
As good as that. Like, I think, how do I feel? Like, can I start with maybe a little bit something that
it's on your heart?
Yeah, and it's not the most positive news, but so last Sunday, I understand it's school holidays and whatever, but at the beginning of worship, 9:30, with everyone prepared, we have 65 in church. And then by the end of worship, we got 109. So, which basically means if you do the percentages, 40% of the church came late for worship. 40%. And I can understand, anyone can be late. The preacher on the day was late. So
I was worried. I thought we were going to have to do something.
That's like, wing it on the spot. And especially when you've got children, you can be delayed and you can be late and all of that. But 40%.
That's a big margin.
That's a big margin, and it's like probably been talking about that for years. I think it's unhealthy. I can't just dress it up like we only have a half an hour worship bracket. We want to honor God, and I guess we want to honor the people that actually prepared for it and prayed over the song selection and stuff. And you can't be late for work and stuff, but you're late for worship, and it is
a bit demoralizing. I think even for the musicians when they start, they've done all of that work, and you look and so it's like, well, where is everybody?
And this is anyway. I don't want to belabor that. I don't want to be negative, whatever. But I do have to say that I'm grieving because my conviction is the church is not in a good state. Like generally in the West, in Australia, I reckon the church is not going well. Someone on Sunday called it the great falling away. Like the figures that are coming from the States are not wonderful, and I love our church, but what I'm doing. And this is where I'm getting stirred and I'm full of hope. I look to Jesus. Jesus is actually the answer. He's the only answer. He's the only source of renewal, revival, what we need. And I'm praying to Jesus, and I'm becoming strong in it, that I'm praying for a fresh outpouring of the Holy Spirit. We need the Spirit of God, because when you look at it on the day of Pentecost, Jesus' disciples dwindled down to 120.
I know, that was the Pentecost story, isn't it?
They experienced the resurrection, whatever, and Jesus said, wait in Jerusalem until you receive the gift that was promised to you.
And I think there was something like 3,000, 4,000, whatever it is, but the Pentecost only 120.
They dwindled back, but then the Spirit fell, and with power, people came to faith, and then without anyone making them, they were daily meeting at the Apostles' feet. They were listening to the word. They were daily meeting in their homes. They were having fellowship. They were on fire. They were praising God. No one called their possessions their own. They were all sharing with one another. And there was this energy, this kingdom life. And that's what we need again.
That's what we want.
Yeah, that's what we want. So Acts chapter 2, when I read that and all of Acts, I can't envision that anyone comes 15 minutes late, just strolling into worship. Like they were queuing up, they were on fire. That's what they wanted to do. They wanted to worship God, and they wanted to share the good news with the world. And so I'm getting ready to preach on the Holy Spirit again, and I'm writing this module on the Holy Spirit. And have you noticed that in the Bible they put the highest value on the Holy Spirit?
Yes.
John the Baptist was already ministering in the forgiveness of sins, baptism, and they received forgiveness. And he said, no, I'm not the Messiah. I'm not even worthy to untie his shoelaces, because he comes and he will baptize not with water but with the Spirit. That's the value. The Messiah immerses us in the Spirit of God.
So why do you think, here we are, we're talking about the church all over the world, ours included, and the whole thing has everywhere, just gone down and down and down.
Yeah, the fire.
You know, is it that we sort of think, well, look, you know, I've got it, I've got the tick in the box, you know, I can show up, or you know, have we become, as the Bible sort of talks about, so lukewarm that it doesn't actually fire us up anymore, that the Holy Spirit has been given to us. You know, the closest connection that we have had since the Garden of Eden, when God breathed in us and said, receive the Holy Spirit. I mean, that's the whole thing about Pentecost. And afterwards, it's like there's a connection with God that should really fire us up and get us excited about what He's doing.
Yeah, that's a big question, you know. What diminishes the fire of the Spirit in us? And, you know, I'm watching my own flame. I think, you know, this is a testing time for the church, like COVID, the restriction, and we can't meet, whatever. God is shaking everything, and you've got to be careful when He shakes everything. He shakes you as well. And, you know, I think, you know, a classical one probably, you know, you get comfortable, you no longer need God. Like, you've got a good life, you've got good options. Why should you just press into God when, you know, everything is there? But that's only one. Another one is you get overwhelmed by grief, or get overwhelmed by bad news or evil. And, you know, does the Bible say because of persecution and, you know, all the turmoil in the world, the love of many grows
cold? Yeah,
because,
it does.
Like, you know, you got to hang on to the goodness of God in the midst of so much suffering and turmoil.
Yes.
And, like, you know, when a tsunami of evil hits you and like, oh God, this is so hard. Like, and then you're suddenly meant to worship with joy. And yet those in persecution, they do.
Yeah. I remember you sharing about, you know, the story of what we're supporting at the moment, Heidi and Ron Baker, and the persecution, the violence that is dished out against the Christian community there. And yet you say, and then when it comes around to times of worship, it's not like, oh, woe is me, and you know, where is God when you need Him? No, they're actually worshiping in joy, and there's a different spirit
but
there, isn't
again,
there?
that's the Spirit of God. Like, I can't imagine, like, you know, terrorists behead my wife, like Tatiana, I see her die in front of my eyes because she's a Christian, and then I lose everything that I have. I walk 2 days to a distant city, and then suddenly I'm in a compound worshiping with other Christians, and I'm dancing in worship for joy. That's
a miracle.
That's
the Holy Spirit.
Yes, and I want the Holy Spirit. We need an outpouring of the Spirit. We need to get hearts set on fire again. Like, cut away all the other things that we're involved in, and let the fire of the Spirit burn and have something to share.
And you know, one of the things that I love about not only what Edgar's heart is, but the heart of Living Grace and the community that's there, is actually the hunger to press into God.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, that is part and parcel of our DNA. We want to go for something more. We don't want to settle on where we are.
What else have we got?
Yeah.
We got nothing. Unless God does what He does.
So come to hear what Edgar is saying. But in the meantime, maybe for you, for me, for all of us, don't settle for what is.
Yeah.
Press into for more, what God has.
And it's the promise. It's promised to every Christian, everyone that believes in Jesus Christ, that we get filled and immersed with the Holy Spirit, and He would satisfy us. He would quench our thirst.
Yeah.
You know, even the Apostle Paul, and you know, some say, oh, he's not, you know, like, oh, the Spirit is always in Luke, Acts and whatever. But the Apostle Paul says the fulfillment of the covenant with Abraham is the Holy Spirit that Jesus gives by faith.
Yes.
The fulfillment of all the covenant promises from right beginning into all the world is that we finally get the Spirit of God.
Yes.
Communion with God, the presence of God, the power of God changes everything.
And long time ago, talking about changes everything, last thought maybe.
Yeah,
because
last
I want to hear your sermon, so I was like,
Yeah.
But the last thought I just want to throw in, just as an encouragement. I once heard someone say that when you have an experience of the Holy Spirit, you're spoiled for the ordinary.
Yes, I hope so.
And wouldn't that be great to have a church where it's like the ordinary doesn't count anymore because we are spoiled for the ordinary. We want the extraordinary. We want the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Brilliant.
And like, you know, in my mind's eye, I see our church alive. I see all of our children, and you know, I really feel for them. That grow up in our schools right now as a Christian. It's not an easy thing to do, but by the Spirit of God, they can do it. They can shine a light. They can resist bullying. They can stand up for the truth and not be squashed. And the parents would be encouraged. Let our church be on fire with the Spirit of God.
So run to church.
Yes.
Run to church, get there early and say, I'm not going to miss out on the fire of the Holy Spirit.
And be hungry. Hey, be hungry. Have a wonderful day.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.